So if you've been fighting with Microsoft Word and trying to figure out exactly how to make your resume look good and look professional, then this video is for you. We're going to create this template like you see it on your screen right here, and at the end you will be able to use this in any way that you wish. We're going to look at it in two ways. One way is going to be using Microsoft Word, and the other way is going to be using this online tool. It's called resumebeacon.com. And you can use this tool to enter all your information in these steps right here. So step 1 is your basic information. Step 2 is your summary statement. Step 3 is your education history. Step 4 is your work history. Step 5 is your skill section. And step 6 is your template section. So you can choose any of these templates and it'll automatically generate your resume for you. Now there's one free template, this one here, and there are other premium templates that you can purchase if you wish to. This isn't a monthly recurring fee like a lot of other resume building sites out there. This is a pay once and you get all access to all these templates. You will not be billed again, so it's a one-time fee and it's going to save you a bunch of time. But if that's not something that you're interested in, that's not a problem. We'll go back over to Microsoft Word and we are going to walk through this step by step, piece by piece, and at the end you will have a beautiful template to work with. So let's start with this. At the top here, you've got your header, your name, your address, phone, and your email address. Now, this is all contained within a table, and that's kind of a secret with Word and with formatting things is tables. And this one happens to be a 2x3 table. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a new document, and we're going to go ahead and drop in a table, which is 2x3. To do that, up here in your menu bar, you're going to see a little icon just like this, and it says Insert Table. Click it. You're going to go down 2, and you're going to go across 3, and that's a 2x3 table. And that's how you insert a table. Now, I'm using an older version of Word. You might have a newer version. Your toolbar might look significantly different than mine, but you're going to be looking for this icon that says Insert Table. If you can't find it, you can go up to the top main navigation, click Table, go to Insert, and Table, and that'll give you the same options that I just showed you. But again, you might have something that looks different, but you want to look for the same thing. Either go through the table menu or use this little icon right here to do that. So in the first cell right here, that's going to be used for our name. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the name in there. The next one is going to be our street address. And we're going to have our city, state, and zip code down below it. And the top right is going to be used for our phone number. And this section is our email address. Now, a quick tip here. Oops, email. A quick tip. If you have a non-professional email address, you want to change that or at least open something just for applying to jobs. Something that's personal, so just your first name, your last name at gmail.com would be perfectly fine. You just want something that looks professional, something that doesn't look childish or just some kind of, your normal everyday email address. Just make it professional, make sure it's clean, make sure that there's nothing in there that's going to make that employer question your abilities or anything about you. So, quick tip, do that. Next section is going to be for your summary. Now in here, this is a simple paragraph. There's nothing else you need to do other than drop a paragraph right in there. We're going to come back and style that later, but for now, just do that. Next step is our education. Now the education is made up of two different tables. The first table here is the header that says education, and our second table is the details of that education. So we're going to create two tables, a 1x1, and the one below it is actually a 2x5 roughly. And let's do that. So we're going to go ahead and go down. We're going to go back up to our insert table icon, and we're going to do it one by one. And in there, we're going to write education, and that's done. Now down below it, we're going to insert another table, and that was 2 by 5. So this quick link icon here will only give me 4. That's fine. We'll start with that. And now we have a 2 by 4 table. And in here, we're going to put the name of the school. We're going to put the years that we attended underneath. We're going to put the degree that we earned. And we're also going to add a quick summary or overview of what we did at that school. And what I also like to put are a couple bullet points. I usually put about 3 down below it. These are just quick snapshots or just little highlights of what we did at that school. So these are just your main accomplishments while there. Now if you run out of room in a table, it's not a big deal. You just get to the very end, and all you do is you hit your tab key, and that's going to insert another row for you. And I'm going to add my last highlight right there. Again, we're going to go through and format this later. We're just getting the layout done for now. We're going to go ahead and fine tune this later. So let's look and see what's next. We'll go back over to our final, and down below it we have our employment. And like you can see right here, the employment is the exact same as education. So we're just going to simply put another 1 by 1 table in there. And the formatting of our information down below is the exact same formatting that we have on education. So that's going to make this pretty simple. We can just copy what we already have. So we'll go back over here, and down below, this is going to be our employment. So we're going to drop another table. That's a 1 by 1, and we're going to write the word employment right there. Now underneath that, we can go ahead and we can copy this table up above from our education, because the formatting is exactly the same. We'll just change the content. So to select this entire table, in the top left corner, you're going to see a little crosshair icon. You click that, and it selects the entire table. You just simply go to Edit, Copy. We go down below where we want to paste it right here. Edit, Paste, and there you go. So we have our employment section. We have our first employment area, our first job, and then we have 2 different jobs we want. So all we need to do is copy and paste that same table that we just did a second time, and that'll give us a second job area. So we can go back here, edit, copy, go down below it, edit, paste, and there's our second job. That's it. So now we'll go back to our resume, and the last section is skills. And again, the header is exactly the same as our employment and our education. It's just a copy and paste. But down below, we do have a little bit of a different table, so we need to format that a little different. And all that is, it's 3 different rows, or 3 different columns and 2 rows. So right here, you've got 1, 2, and 3 by 2, and we're going to insert the table accordingly. So we'll go back over to our document, and we're going to insert a 1 by 1 table, and we're going to write skills. And down below that, we're actually going to drop onto a second page here, but we'll tighten this up, and we're going to insert a new table, and that will go 3 wide by 2 tall. And there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put all my skills right into this table that we have right here. So skill 1, skill 2. Now if you want to change this and do it 4 wide, you're welcome to do that. You just simply go in, and instead of selecting 3 wide, you select 4 wide. It's completely flexible, and it's up to you how you want to do this. But for right now, for me, I think it looks clean by doing 3 across, just like we have it here. So we have all the information in our new template just as we want it. Still doesn't look good, but we can fix that. So let's look at our final, and what we've got here is our font's different, the alignment is different, and these little details make all the difference in the world. So if this was all left justified, meaning everything was all over here to the left hand side, and this is over to the right hand side, it's going to open up spacing right here, and it just doesn't look as appealing. So what you want to do is go into your final here, and we're going to start by getting this font to something a little more appealing than Times New Roman. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click anywhere in the document, and I'm going to go and I'm going to hit edit and select all. That selects every bit of text in my document. And in here, you can simply go up and change your font to anything that you want. So in this case, I'm using a font that's called Open Sans Light, and I'm going to click on it. And there we go. That changed my font. But it still doesn't look good. So what do we need to do? Well, it's really big, so we want to tone that font size down. And we're going to do the same thing. You just simply go to Edit and select all, and we can go over here and select the size of our font. You know, if you want to do an 8-point font, that might be a little small because once this thing prints out, it might be a little hard to read. We can change this to a 10-point font, so that's a little bit better. You know, we can keep massaging this as we go. But in the end, what we really want to do is we want to get something that looks visually appealing, but it's still legible. So we're going to keep playing with that until we get to that point. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's okay. You're just massaging this whole document until you get something that you really like. Now, the next thing that you're seeing is all these borders on these tables. So let's get rid of those. To do that, you simply click that crosshair icon in the top left to select the entire table, and you can right-click on it after that, and you go to Table Properties. And you're going to see a area here called Borders and Shading. Now again, this might be different if you're using a different version of Word, but the idea is the same. You're going to want to look for something in that property dialog box that has borders and shadings. Click it. Now, you have a couple different options here. You've got the shading. This is the color within the table. We don't want that yet. We want borders. And you'll see right here, there's an option for none. If you select that and you hit OK, and you hit OK again, and you deselect it, they're gone. And that's exactly what we want. And we're going to go ahead and do that on every single one of our tables. So we can go right here. There's actually a quick shortcut. If you right click on it, you go to Borders and Shading. Borders, none, OK. Next, we'll go down to Borders and Shading, none, hit OK. And we're going to do it here for employment. And Borders and Shading, none. And the same thing here, Borders and Shading, none. And on this one, Borders and Shading. So it gets a little tedious at times, but it's pretty quick once we get the hang of it. And the last section here, Borders and Shading, and none. So you'll already see by changing the font size, we've tightened up our document to one page. So we don't have that second page to deal with anymore, which is great. So the next step is the formatting and the alignment of everything else that we've got in here. Now, even though we can't see the borders of our tables anymore, the tables do exist still. They're still in here. So if you click that icon, you'll still see it. You just don't see the surrounding borders. What we want to do now is start at the top and work our way down. So our name, we want to go ahead and make that bold. We want to make it a little bigger. We want to make it stronger and make it stand out. So I'm going to select the name, and I'm going to go ahead and change that to a font that's called Open Sans Semi-Bold. And we're going to go ahead and make that as bold as we want. And we might even decide to increase that font size just a little bit and see how that looks. And I think that's a little too big, so we'll pull that back down to like 10.5. Just make it a little bit bigger than everything else. Now, the address and the phone number and everything up here, it does not need to stand out as much as the rest of the resume at this point. So I'm going to tone this down to about an 8 point. Okay, so that's starting to look a lot better, but we're still not there. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Everything here is left justified. So if you look at it, it's all going to the left-hand side of these cells. The same thing with these two. Everything's to the left. We want to leave this one left justified, but we're going to select the contents of these two cells, and you're simply going to click this right align or right justify button, and that moves everything over. So now you have something that's looking a little bit better. Within your summary statement, we can go in here and we can actually change the line height, because if we look back at our final one, the spacing here is a little bit bigger, and that kind of just separates the text a little, and it makes it a little easier to read, a little nicer to look at. So to do that, you're simply going to go and right click on it, and you want to go ahead and click on paragraph. Now you're going to see something in here that says line spacing, and you can change the size of that spacing right here. So single, 1.5, double. You can do a bunch of different things in here. So we're going to play with this a little bit until we get it just like we want it. So we're going to go to 1.5 lines. We're going to look at that. That's not bad. That font still looks a little bit too big to me. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And we're going to pull that down to an 8 and see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. So we want to make sure, though, in a document that you're not using too many different font sizes. If you use more than 2, it's typically considered bad practice because it's going to start looking weird. There's little small visual cues that people subconsciously pick up on, and using more than 2 fonts, 2 font styles, or 2 sizes in a document is going to throw people off, and it's going to make it look a little weird. So with that said, we want to go ahead and make the rest of this an 8-point font for right now and just work with that. So we'll select everything else remaining and we'll tone that down to an 8-point. So that's probably a little small, but again, it's a work in progress. We want to massage this as we go. The next step, education. So if we look at our final, it's nice, big, bold, capital, and we've got a shaded background in there. So let's do that. We'll go back over here, and again, this is a table, so we're going to click on the crosshair icon, right click on it, and we're going to go to borders and shading again. And in this instance, we're going to use shading, and this right here is the fill color, and this is the color that we actually want to fill the background color with. So I'm going to pick a gray, and let's see what that looks like. All right, not bad. Might be a little bit too dark, but let's change that up and lighten it up a little. So you right click on it, we go to borders and shading. Let's tone it down quite a bit and see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. Now education, we're going to increase that to whatever size our name was, and that was a 10.5. So we want to match our bold text all throughout the document. So that's a 10.5, and it's also a semi-bold. That looks pretty good. Now, down below, we'll go back to our final. Now you'll see how everything over here is right aligned and everything over here is left aligned. This is the same concept that we used up here. We want to do the same thing. So let's go back to Word and select these 2 cells, and we'll go up and we will right align them. And over here, these are already left aligned, so that's already done. And we'll do the same thing down here. Right align it. Now, there's a whole bunch of empty space, white space, between here and here. So how do we fix that? Well, remember, this is still a table. And anywhere in that table, you can actually click any of those lines, those guides, and you can drag this over. And what that does is it moves. I'm going to turn borders back on just so you can see what this is actually doing. We're going to put all. So what we're going to do, let me go back here and start over again for you. We click this line right here, and you drag it over. And what that does is it creates more space over here on the right hand side and less space over here on the left side. So we'll go a little bit more. That's pretty good. And that's what we want. So we're going to do the same thing with these other tables down below. You just simply grab the line, and in some cases we probably should have left the borders on up until we got to this point. So let's go ahead and just turn these back on just so we can see what we're actually grabbing right here and drag that over. You want to align that exactly the same as that first one. And the same thing with this. We're going to go ahead and turn our borders back on and grab it, move it over. And the bottom one for skills, we don't want to do that because that's our 3-column table. So we're going to leave it as is for right now. We can go back and we can now turn everything back off because we're done modifying our table. So I'm going to do that on all 3 of these tables that we had modified. And those are back off. So now we have everything kind of lined up like we want it. It's looking pretty good. So I want to do the same thing with employment here and with skills here because those are our headers for those sections. So we right click and we go to borders and shading. Go to shading, pick our color, which was gray 15%, and we're going to increase this font size to 10.5, and that's going to become the semi-bold font. And we want to make sure we're using that same gray, so let's double check that. Borders and shading, yeah, gray 15%. And the same thing with skills. We go in here. We go to borders and shading, and there's our gray 15%. We're going to select our text. We're going to go to 10.5%, bring that up to semi-bold, and there you go. So it looks pretty good at this point. We did forget, however, to right align this. So let's go ahead and fix that, and that. So that looks pretty good. Let's look at our final and see what we're missing here. So we see how we have some bolds here. So now this is a decision that you need to make. Do you want to highlight the degree that you earned, or do you want to highlight the university that you went to? I wouldn't recommend bolding them both because then nothing stands out. They're both the same thing. So pick one. If you went to Harvard, you might want to highlight Harvard. Your employment, if you've worked at a prestigious company, you might want to highlight that, or you might want to highlight your job title that you had. That's up to you. Pick one or the other and highlight it. So let's go ahead and do that in our document. And we're going to, in this case, highlight the job title and the education title, so our degree title. So we're going to bold that. We're going to bold that, and there we go. Now, there's one more thing missing on here, and if you look here, we've got bullet points, and bullet points. So let's add those in. So we go back to our document and start at the top. So we're started right here, graduated with a 3.8 GPA. So you put your cursor and you click right at the beginning of it. And you're going to simply click up here. You have bullets. There's a small icon for bullets. There's one for numbering. So it depends on the style that you want. You can pick. In this case, I want bullets. So I click it. Now I go back to the next one, bullet, and I go back to the third one, bullet. And we're going to do that all the way down. So we've got bullet, and bullet. And then our final section, we're going to add our bullets in here. And there, whoops, I selected the numbering. I don't want that. I want bullets. There we go. And that's what we want. So we still have, let's pull back on this. I'm going to look at it at 100%. And that gives you an overview of what we're looking at. So we have quite a bit of room left on our resume here. So we might want to consider increasing the font size just a little bit to make it a little easier to read. So let's go ahead and select all the text in here, and we're going to bring that up to a 9. And that looks pretty good. That's legible. Everything's still on one page. Nothing crazy happened. This right here is an 8. That's a 10.5, and a 9 on these ones right here, because this is all 9. So that looks pretty good. Now let's change this to a 9 because we want to match the size of everything else. We don't want it to look weird. And there we go. So overall, that is a finalized document. Now you can go through and you can change this more. You can do what you want with it. It's completely up to you. But at least this gives you a great starting point to work with. You can change the font sizes or styles of this if you really wanted to go crazy and make this stand out more. I just increased that to a 14 point. There's a 14 point on that and a 14 point on our skills section, just to make that stand out a little bit more. If you want some more impact on there, you can do that. You can change your name and increase the font size. So this gives you a great starting point to start with, and you can modify it however you wish. All right, so that's how you use Microsoft Word to format your resume. And now I want to look at the tool I showed you at the beginning of this video called resumebeacon.com. That tool is going to save you a bunch of time and a bunch of headaches having to do this for your first time. If you've never formatted anything in Word, even though you watch the video, it's still going to be a bit of a challenge. But Resume Beacon will be able to just take all the information that you've written and it'll automatically format it for you. You won't have to mess with any tables. You won't have to do any formatting at all on your own. So let's take a look at how this works. Basically, you are going to fill out 6 different sections, and we're going to start here with section number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter all the basic information into step number 1. So my name, I'm going to put my first name here, last name here, and my email address is going to go here in this box. So you're basically just going to go along and you're going to fill out the form. It really doesn't get any simpler than that. And once you get everything filled out, you'll go through every section and you will, at the very end, choose the template that you like. So I'm just going to finish this up right here and enter my zip code. And what we want to do here in the job title is give it a pretty specific title, because what this is going to do is it's going to trigger job listings for us. So you'll also get job listings sent directly to you every day via email. That's going to let you know of all the jobs that are in your area. So it's a nice little extra bonus. It's completely free, and it's right there for you. So what we're going to do is enter our job title here, and this is going to be Internet Marketing Manager. And if you choose not to have those emails sent to you, then just uncheck this and they won't come to you. But I do want to have them come to me, so I'm going to leave it there. And my username, I'm going to enter that here. And I'm going to choose a password. Save and continue. So that's going to create your account. It's done. And we're ready to move on to step number 2. So step 2 is our summary statement, or the objective. And all you need to do is take your summary statement that you've already written and paste it in. And that's it. Save and continue. Step number 3 is our education section, and it's just like the first section where you're just filling out a form. So we're going to enter the name of the school. We're going to put our degree that we are either working on or we have completed. And up here, if you are still currently attending the school, check this right here. And that's going to automatically tell the software that you're currently attending this school. So the end date will show that you're currently attending. In this case, we've already finished, so we're going to uncheck it. The start date was in 2004, so we will go back to 2004, We'll say January 1st, 2004, and we finish this up in 2008. And we'll say February 1st, 2008. The next step is going to be the description of our education. So this is a quick 1 or 2 sentence synopsis. And then we're also going to add 3 different highlights in here. We're going to do 1, we're going to do 2, and we're going to do number 3 right there. So don't try and format anything additionally, just drop the text in and that's all you need to do. Save it and you're done. If you have another school, just simply click the add another and you're going to get another form to fill out for the second school. Now we have our work history. In this one, again, it's the same thing. You just simply drop in your position title, the company, the city that you were employed in. So we'll say this one was Los Angeles. Oops. And the state, California. And this time we started in 2008, so just after we graduated. And we are employed all the way up until February 1st, 2017. And again, the job description, you're going to just paste your quick 1 or 2 sentence synopsis in there. And we want to put our highlights in. There's number 1. Here's number 2. And number 3. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add another job just to show you how easy it is. So you click add another. And we're going to just simply use the same information from the last job, and we're going to repeat it here. So the same thing, I'm just going to copy and paste up here. Los Angeles, California. And the start date would be, we'll just pick another one here, 2009 until 2011, and we will also copy and paste our job description, our highlights, and finally we're going to save it. Everything is saved. And the last section here is our skills section. So I'm going to go to my notes here, and I'm going to drop in all of my skills for this particular resume. And once I'm done with that, it's just as simple as saving it. And then down below, we're going to pick a template that we would like to use. And after that, the template is simply emailed to you in a PDF form, and you can use it just like that. So we're all done. I'm going to go ahead and click on this free one to get a nice preview of what it looks like, and here's everything. It's all formatted for you. Our summary statement, our education, showing that in 2004, 2008, we're at ABC University. We earned a BA in marketing. Our employment was ABC Company in Los Angeles, 2008 to 2017, and here's our second employment section. Our skills are at the bottom. And if you want to see what these other templates look like, you simply click on it and you get a nice preview of what your resume would look like in each of these different templates. And you can play with each one of them and pick the one that you like the best. And once you decide on one, you simply click on use this template and you're done. Hopefully that helps you out. It's a lot quicker than using Microsoft Word, so if you don't want to struggle with it, or if you're running short on time, this is a great option to use. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I will be happy to answer any of your questions.